What's up, Moto Buddies? Mike here from Taco Moto Co. What is the Taco Touch? It's the best service in the industry. Virtually 24/7 tech support via email or text, and it's like having a dirt bike doctor on call every day of the year, helping you fix your bike or recommend parts or setups for you. If you've ever received an order from us, you'll know that the Taco Touch extends to our fulfillment, and our orders come with the coolest stickers that you've ever had, buying parts from anybody before, and a handful of root beer barrel candies. All of our Taco Moto Co. branded components come with a no questions asked lifetime warranty, and we'll even extend out the warranty of other manufacturers, OEM, and aftermarket parts where we can, sometimes for life. We test and tune endlessly and exhaustively and obsessively. We're trying to destroy everything that we can before you get your hands on it to look for weaknesses and to improve it, or to make recommendations to the manufacturer. And if it's something that doesn't meet grade, then we don't offer it on the store. Everything that we carry is something that we have personally used, tested, and ridden, and raced, and knows meets the high Taco Touch demanding standard. Go out and get some adventure.
In episode 73 of Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, Jimmy Lewis and Logan Tyler are joined over the phone by guest Martin Hachworth to discuss Tour of Idaho. You'll also hear an interesting discussion about kilowatts versus horsepower, as well as some free riding tips. Also discussed is Chinese dirt bikes that might be available for kids. There's a Magura clutch slave issue that gets discussed, as well as some changes that were made to KTM's 390 Adventure and why you should choose the CRF 230F over the XR 650L. Keep listening, as there's other topics discussed that would just make this intro way too long.
It is 7 o'clock, and it's Tuesday, and that means we do a show called
Tech Talk Taco Tuesday.
That was good, Logan. Right on cue. Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. And it's a show where we talk about
motorcycle products and motorcycle-related questions.
Motorcycle and motorcycle-related products. Or you can say dirt bike and dirt bike-related products. But I like to throw the motorcycles in there because we do talk about adventure bikes and dual sport bikes and all different kinds of motorcycles. So, yeah, somebody thinks I'm drinking Corona and White Claw. I was drinking. I have Loma Azul. I have the Miller High Life over here. I'm wearing the Pabst Blue Ribbon shirt, although you can't see it. Got all the ingredients to make this a halfway decent show. We got a plan for a call-in. We got some big news, evidently. Lots of people there. Hey, I want to ask you, if you could, all of our fans that are in the chat room and the Facebook things, if you could go and share this right now, here's what, don't just share it. Find your dingbat friend. See, they're not going to hear this part of the podcast or the show. I want you to find your dingbat friend that asks you all those questions and go, hey, I found a guy that'll answer your questions for you. And he'll do it live, and he'll give you really good answers. And turn them on to this thing, and let's see the numbers go up a little bit high tonight. I know they'll get bored really quick, but tell them if they ask questions in the chat room and Logan picks up on it, he'll tell me, hey, we got a really good one. That's your new job, along with the other jobs.
Yeah.
And we'll answer those questions, and then your friend can quit bugging you. But he'll probably go, is that guy for real? Is that Jimmy Lewis guy know what he's talking about? Do I?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yes.
Yeah. You saw me ride a mountain bike.
Yeah.
Not very good.
Very strong, like lungs.
Yeah, I climb okay, but it's not lungs, it's belly. It's called the camel front principle. It's kind of like a camelback, but we're not going to talk about that on this kind of show. So this show is brought to you by a few fine companies and sponsors, we'll say. First of all, it's brought to you by KTM, and Logan is going to not read it. You're gonna get it. You're gonna nail it this time, right? You've been practicing for hours. Instead of doing your schoolwork, you've been practicing this read, right?
Whenever I ride my dirt bike, I practice.
Okay, so that means you practiced for the 10 minutes when you rode over here today.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have it. What is KTM?
They're powered by a distinct ready-to-race mentality. KTM is the world's leading high-performance street and off-road motorcycle manufacturer with North American headquarters based in Marietta, California. Over the years, KTM has built a reputation as a fierce competitor on the racetracks around the world, and its global success is shown in every product it develops and every move it makes.
That was like 99%. That was pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, that's KTM. The move that it made to sponsor this podcast, I think, was the best one, really, in my opinion, other than making the KTM 500, which allegedly is the best bike in the world for everything, which we'll probably get into that at some point or another on this show, like we always do when somebody asks me. It's not a podcast, so we'll get into that. Hey, what are we going to talk about tonight, Logan? What's your segment about tonight? Not
sure yet.
You're not sure? You're going to make it up. Okay. Probably. Remember, you can ask questions too. So today I rebuilt a Yamaha YZ125. I got the piston right here in my hand. Yeah, you can't see this on the podcast, but this is a 20-some-odd hour YZ125 piston. Not too bad, huh?
No.
I wiped it pretty clean. But you can touch, so you're allowed to. It's not, they don't bite or anything. Yeah, I was listening to another podcast about motorcycles, and like while I listened to that, I learned like what color gear I should wear, and they argued about whether you should consider it a finisher at a motocross race if you didn't cross the checkered flag, stuff like that. So, but that's what you do when you're working on your bike. You listen to this podcast, and then I'll probably talk about what you're working on, and then you'll go, "Uh-oh, I'm doing it wrong." That's possibly what could happen, right, Logan?
Yes.
Yes. We got some cool stuff for our KTM 390. You should probably ride that home, dude.
Okay.
We got the W wheels for it, and I put brand new Kenda big blocks on it.
Okay.
So it's good, and with that tuner now, the ECU tuner, it goes faster and it starts up now. It still takes two starts to get it to idle down.
Okay.
But you're good there. And yeah, so some of the questions we had asked. So the ways you can ask questions on this podcast is comment on the YouTube videos. Since we're not really a podcast and we found out that iTunes hates us, then you can't really comment there, but you can comment on the YouTube videos. We usually go through those once a week and grab the good ones, bring them and answer them here. Then you can also, if you want to listen to this or watch it live. Now you got to start talking, Logan. I need it.
The YZ250F test is up now on dirtbiketest.com.
That's right. Yeah, good. And so anyways, what was I talking about before I started trying to choke myself to death?
390.
Oh, the 390. Yeah. Got some double take mirrors on it. It's good. It's going to be a good bike. So we're doing a project bike. I need to get graphics for it. I'd like to get some graphics. So if anybody has any suggestions on that, that would be good. And how to comment on this? You would go to the YouTube page and comment on the show there, and or you can watch this live every Tuesday night on Facebook. That's currently where we're broadcasting this live, and you ask questions in the chat room. And then usually one of our three experts that actually is qualified to call themselves an expert might answer your question properly. And if it's a good question, somehow it gets to me, and then we actually answer it live. So it's a pretty interactive show. That's the best that we can do. So Chris Reel asked, how about the tire pressures for adventure bikes and spring adjustments to compensate for too much gear? Adventure bikes, I run 27 PSI on my tires, front and rear, almost all the time, no matter how much gear I have. And spring adjustment, because a lot of those bikes have adjustable spring preload, I run it as stiff as possible all the time, no matter what. Because I just find that that's the ideal tire pressure for riding on and off-road, heavy on the off-road side. And the maxed out spring preload tends to hold the bike up a little bit higher in the stroke and give it a better just overall feel. And when you're at 27 PSI, the tires do that initial bump compliance thing that they don't do when they're at 30 or 35 pounds. That's the key to it. But if you aren't very smart and you smack into big rocks all the time, don't run 27 because, you can, but don't run any less because you're going to knock the rims kind of silly. It sound worse with the headphones on?
No.
Your headphones are bad?
No, it's just a little warm in here.
Oh, little warm in here. Air conditioning's not working. Or did one of your girlfriends like text you and say, take those goofy headphones off?
No.
No? Okay. Let's see. Travis Langley wanted to know the best used first dirt bike for kids. Logan, this question's for you. My son is 13 and would be doing mellow trails. I could only buy new if I were to go with a Chinese bike, but I've heard different opinions on the quality. Thanks.
If he's close to like 4'8", 5 foot, get him an 85. Any brand, they all work. Most like the name brands and
Yeah, well, they don't have Chinese 85s yet.
yeah.
Not yet. They will soon, I'm sure. All they have to do is just ship one of those motors over there. They'll just knock it off, and there'll be a new one. It'll be a Jingzhou 85. What about TTR 125, XR 100? Those are the ones I would suggest. And it's first bike. And so here's the thing, and here's what you're going to find, especially right now, is the clutchless bikes. In other words, the ones with the auto clutch, the KLX 110s, the CRF 110s, the different ones, that even the 50s that are auto clutches and stuff. And he's probably getting a little bit big for some of those size wise, and he's going to have a growth spurt. If you don't learn to use the clutch, that's going to be the next hurdle. And so I'm always, I had to learn to ride with a clutch. I did ride a Honda 50 into the side of my friend's mom's car. But the minute I could really ride, I was on bikes with clutches. And it's really not that hard to master. And you figure you're going to be using the clutch the rest of your life, so you might as well just get it out of the way there. So, like, I think the XR 100s, TTR 125s, KLX 140s, bikes like that are pretty good. And the clutchless bikes are selling for a premium right now because everybody's racing them around in backyards. And you can't find them at dealers. So, and you can find, they've been making XR 100s and CRF 125s and stuff since before I was, so 50 years now. And you can find them used. And if you go the Chinese route, you will learn how to be a good mechanic. And I honestly don't think that's a bad thing either, because they will break, and you're going to learn how to replace hardware, tap the bolts, where they strip out of the frame. The engines are pretty bulletproof, but you're going to learn how to replace gaskets and carburetors. You're going to learn how to source parts from God knows where, because you can't go to a normal dealer and get them. So maybe buy a used Chinese bike that somebody can't get running. Tell your kid if he can't fix it, then he can't ride it, and then he has to fix it. He'll have some ownership in that thing.
Yep.
And then keep your eye out for a good Japanese.
Which he's 5'7" and 130.
Oh, he is? Oh, yes. He answered it. Oh, so he's almost ready for a 125, a two-stroke.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are hard to get too, because all of us old guys are buying them up and racing them. But even at 5'7", I'm 5'10", and I still ride a TTR 125 and an XR 100. So yeah, you can fit on them, and good to learn. Get him a Chinese. But he's up in a CRF 230 land, TTR 250. Yeah, there's so many different bikes. Just a good. I would go with the 4-stroke. And just something to learn to ride on, but always keep your eye. Get that one, get it running good. Be ready to sell it when you find the next thing that he wants, because I think that's good. That would be my path. That's what I would do. I see that Travis says he's 5'7", 130-ish pounds. He's going to be a big kid. And then everybody in the room is throwing out the TTR 125s and KX 100s and all the other stuff as well. So, what does Robert Miller want to know?
When did EFI on a dirt bike really come into its own and start being superior on a FCMX?
So he's talking about basically a carburetor. Pretty much the minute that it went on to dirt bikes, it was superior. A lot of people disagree with me on that, but literally since they started putting EFI on any of the bikes, they weren't necessarily tuned to feel like a carburetor, but they carbureted better, if that makes sense. They provided a better air fuel mixture. The bikes ran better, stalled less, and every year they got better and better and better. So right from the get-go, almost any bike that has a carburetor, I wish it would have been a better bike if it had fuel injection, with the exception of some of the early stuff they were using on the Huskies, and the Christini is one that has an awkward fuel injection system. But for the most part, any of the popular stuff, it was better. But I tell you what, the 2-stroke carbs are actually pretty good, but I still like fuel injection better. Go on the record. What about Doug Derby?
How about Jimmy's tips for a mud race with radiators and keeping the engine alive for the whole moto?
I'll bet you Doug watched the motocross races this weekend, huh?
Yeah.
Were you just sitting there watching, waiting for those guys to blow up when it started steaming?
Oh, yeah.
So you know this. Where's the heat coming from?
Clutch.
Exactly. So you notice how on that track, there were certain sections where the bike would just be steaming and then it would go away. Essentially, that's the section where shortly after they just used the hell out of the clutch, or anytime a bike stopped, and everybody thinks it's because there's air not moving through the radiators. Of course, that's some of it. But if you watched how they had those radiators covered up, they put pantyhose, a nylon sheet in front of the radiator grill. And sometimes they even put a section of like thick screen to give it some extra stability because there's so much weight on it. Because they want that mud to kind of fall off, but it really decreases the airflow. But that's not really the core problem. The core problem is the bike can actually cool itself pretty well, just through the engine heat. But it's when you start adding all this heat, and if you want to know what clutch heat is like, if you have a grinder, go take a nice piece of metal and grind on it for a second, and then try to touch where you just ground. That's what's going on when your clutch is slipping. When you're slipping your clutch, you've got an engine that's trying to put out, on those bikes, 40 some odd, 50, 70 horsepower or whatever, and you're trying to reduce it down to get traction. If the bike's stuck, you should just drop the damn clutch. You shouldn't be slipping it like these guys do. But a lot of times the wheel's already spinning and they're slipping their clutch because that's how they ride. That's the technique that they use.
Yeah.
So the heat is coming from the clutch. So the best thing you can do is to stop using the clutch. And you'll even hear the announcers who are told not to talk about technical things start saying, well, they got to get off the clutch, lay off the clutch. They did. That's the case. And what are the guys riding on the pit boards? Save the bike off the clutch, save the bike off the clutch. The trick is do the prep on the radiators, put some sort of thing so that the mud can't physically pack in the radiator. Because the bad thing about it is when the wet mud goes and splashes into the radiator, a hot radiator, it also dries and then it starts caking up. And that's why you want to stop it before it gets there. So they actually put the pantyhose because the mud doesn't really stick to it. And if it does, it sticks and then it starts falling off as it grows up. So, Doug, that's how I would do it. But I would prep the radiators and then stay off the clutch. Next.
Paul Van Hout. Issues with Magura clutch slave cylinder failures. Still a thing on the 2020 FE 350 and no, just the 350.
So I don't know. It's a known thing that the Magura ones aren't as haven't been as durable as the Brembo ones on the KTM, or I think are there Magura what?
I thought they fixed it.
Well, it's been a I don't know. I have not had that problem on any of my bikes. But I haven't had any Huskies, and the Husky test bikes we haven't had the problem. But if there was a fix, I guarantee you that the press bikes that we get would have had it done. That's the thing. But I'll tell you how to fix it for sure if you think it's a problem. Recluse makes a higher quality part. And on your question there, I actually threw a link to the Recluse's little blog that probably has more information on it than I cared to read, but I knew it was correct, so I sent it to you. And so I've never had a failure on the KTM parts, even going back to some of my older KTM RFS bikes, and I tell you what, some of those things are really thrashed. Some of them for sale right now if you want to buy one. And I have replaced a lot of mine with the Recluse slave units on my bikes because they have the Recluse clutches, and then it's a whole different part at that point. But so I don't know if it's an issue. I'm sure the internets will tell you it's an issue, and then they'll list probably the 5 different things that you can do to fix it. But I would just go get that Recluse part because I've had good luck with the ones I've used, and that should be good. This is about our KTM 390 test.
Delvin, flippin' good review. I disagree with your opinion on seat height, though. I am a fairly short guy, 5'7", and I do riding here in Africa on the KTM 1090. Riding on tough tracks, riding up rocks and very rocky hills climbs is very difficult when you can't put your foot on the ground. I rode the 790, which made a big difference, able to put a foot down and push off a rock. I do ride a KTM 300 for enduro.
And he's worried about the seat. My comment on the seat height on the 390.
Yes.
I understand it. I teach people all the time that want to get their feet on the ground. They feel like if they can't put both their feet on the ground that they're going to fall over. And my way of explaining that to them is, okay, which side do you want to fall over to? Because if you want to put both feet down, you're telling me you don't know which side you're going to fall over on. Because if I was going to fall to one side or the other, I would put that foot down to stop me from falling. I wouldn't try to put the other one down. When you're balanced on the showroom and putting your feet down, that's what you're showing me. We call it putting the rudders out. So when you all of a sudden change the way that you want to ride and operate the motorcycle to only putting one or the other foot down, when that becomes standard, all of a sudden the seat height issue starts to diminish and it goes away. And if you are compromised in inseam length, you just start learning to shimmy your butt off to the side so you can put your foot down, the foot that you want to. And when you see really good riders, when both their feet come off, that is we'll call it an oh shit moment. It's like at that point they're out of control. When you as a regular rider start throwing both of your feet down, I see exactly the same thing. So I'll agree to disagree with you. And if you're riding a KTM 90 at 5'7", you're doing pretty good. I'm 5'10", and I put a tall seat on my 1090, so that's actually 2.5 inches taller than standard. So you can see how much I care about getting my feet, plural, on the ground, because I don't. But yeah, in the 790, he says makes a big difference to be able to foot down and push off of a rock. That's, like you said, put a foot down. Yeah, you don't put feet down and push off of rocks that often. And if you are, that's not really what the 390 is designed for. Okay, what does JD want to know?
The bike is robust enough until you bend the stock wheel regardless of tire choice. Reviewers are pulling punches on this bike.
We mentioned that we dented the wheels on our KTM 390, and we dented them enough to where I thought it was a concern, and we have new, better wheels, which weren't that easy to source, believe it or not. We had to get the hubs off of a Husky Smart Pillon or something. It's like a little commuter city bike that has spoked wheels, and use those and spoke them up to the 16 and 19 inch rims from W Wheels knows how to do it now. They know the right rim sizes, and they're trying to source the hubs. So, and I was just told that KTM Hard Parts is also going to have some spoked wheels options for it. So we didn't pull any punches with it. We called it like it was. Yeah, they know that the wheels are soft, but then again, we're probably riding a little bit outside of the target audience. We're riding a little bit harder than that. So there we go.
For all the justified praise of the 790, KTM needs to hear criticism on their mistakes on this one.
Yeah, that's what we just talked about.
Yep.
Yeah. So what does JS want to know?
Agree 1,000% about seat height. We're in a race to the bottom, so to speak. 99% of modern bikes are already designed for short people, like 5'6". But the manufacturers, when they get this massive contingent of short people who don't want to have to learn how to ride, so they still
Did you lose your place?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh.
Complain about seat height?
Yeah.
They complain about the seat heights that are already designed to fit them. So then the manufacturers have to make the bikes even lower. We all end up with an entire industry full of motorcycles that have been totally compromised by seat height, say nothing of how ridiculous the ergonomics are for average and tall riders. So JS, how tall are you? Sounds like a 6-footer. Yeah. I don't think they go, they do go overboard with things like cutting the seat heights down, and that's not why now you see a lot of manufacturers that are offering taller seat options through their power parts or their Yamaha accessories. GYTR does it, things like that. I don't think that they try not to move the stuff around in the chassis, but yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think it's worse if you're a tall guy. I think you're in a harder position to make the bikes work if you're tall. It's a little bit more difficult, but luckily I'm perfect, so I don't have to worry about it. So next,
LG rocks. Jimmy, you keep calling it a podcast, but it's not. It's a YouTube video. It's not a freaking podcast until you put it where podcasts belong. So any episode after 50, you are not where podcasts belong.
well, he's right. I actually started noticing this the other day because I was going to put up episodes 51 through 70 and found out that our YouTube account, our iTunes account, which is somehow administered through Apple in France, decided that we are not a podcast. We are a test. And it says Dirt Bike Test, so obviously the test, and they probably didn't listen to it in English, and they thought it was just some jackass talking about himself the whole time. And so they just banned it. And so all of our stuff dropped off of iTunes. It's still up on, it's on SoundCloud right now, and it goes a few other places. I think it's on Stitcher right now, but I'm trying to get that all sorted. I really am. But as you can tell, I spend most of my time in a garage working on dirt bikes or riding dirt bikes or stumbling around computers making things worse. So can't help. Maybe by the time this gets uploaded, it won't be a YouTube video. It'll be a podcast as well. So we're working on it. LG rocks. Do you know anybody who knows how to work on that? Because I'd sure like some help. A guy was helping me, and I think he's the one that set up the account in France for me. So, yeah.
Charlie Tuna, 1971. Spotify for your podcast. Then we can grocery shop or pretend to work while listening. YouTube requires $13 per month to play videos in the background like a podcast.
I'm not worth $13 a month. I mean, I don't get any of that. So yeah, you're right. I'm Spotify. I think, is it on Spotify? I don't know. I got to go do the. I need a technical consultant, somebody that was supposed to handle that, but not me. Yeah, we're doing the best we can here. So it's a motorcycle show. Let's quit talking about the damn technology, right, Logan?
Yes.
Why don't you learn how to do that and do that for me? I'll pay you. I'll pay you double what I pay you right now. You're doing the math in your head? It's really easy to multiply by 0, Logan. It's really easy. It's
I
all
was
the
trying
same.
to figure out the other possible number beside 0.
Oh, the other number.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do whatever the other number you want to multiply by 0. I'll give that to you. That can be your salary. We just got to multiply it by 0. Don't do math; it hurts.
But it's hard.
You really, you should. That's why you should learn how to do all this podcasting crap. Then you don't have to do math. You just upload it onto whatever it's called.
Dirt bike test. Mm-hmm. Do you know the kW power of the bike?
That's kilowatts. Hell no. We don't do kilowatts here. Well, I mean, that's how they measure the horsepower is with kilowatts. So why do you want to know how many kilowatts your bikes make? Are you trying to compare it to like how many kilowatts does your electric mountain bike make?
750?
With a dead battery up at the top of a hill? You look pretty pathetic pushing that thing up. So I went riding with Logan. Me and Logan rode up a mountain on electric bikes, and I was smart enough to leave mine in trail. And Logan decided to drop me with boost, but his dad didn't charge the battery all the way up. So, how'd that work out at the top?
Got pretty fun.
It sucked. Yeah. That what you call that? Yeah, that was fun. Bob's waving his hand.
Kilowatts is the international standard for measuring power.
Okay. Yeah. So are we in international or are we in America?
Or you can just Google kilowatts horsepower.
Okay. Then he should have done that, Pitar. Yeah. I don't test dirt bike test. Do you know the kilowatts power of the bike? No. I don't ever even know what the horsepower of the bike is. I can tell you how fast it is. I can guess what the horsepower is, and generally I'm right. But I haven't converted my horsepower ass dyno to kilowatts yet.
Multiply the horsepower by 0.7 to get a kilowatt.
There you go.
Oh, that's why we don't use kilowatts, because then it's less.
Yes.
Yeah. Why would you even want to do that? Like if your bike already is like weak, like, my 125 that makes maybe 20, what does it 125 make?
28.
28. Yeah, I'm going to guess. I don't want all of a sudden it to be making like 22 kilowatts. No, I want 28 horsepower. Yeah. You take your kilowatts and go away. Just go back to wherever you came from. We're not doing kilowatts here. What's the other? Asked another question? What's the next question?
CRF 250L?
No, this one right here. Look at that.
Oh. Can you drive this bike with a A2 license?
Yeah. Do you have an A2 license, Logan?
I don't think so.
No, neither do I. I've never had one. We don't have them here. In Nevada, you just have to ride your bike with holsters and guns loaded. So that's how we do it here. No kilowatts and no A2 licenses. Next question.
On the CRF 250L, Bolin Lee? Man, I don't get it. The bike is about 350 pounds. That's on par with the XR 650L, and that's not far behind the DR 650. The advantage of the 250 class is they are light. What's the point of getting a 250 if it weighs as much as a 650 and has half the power?
Because you want a bike with half the power. You want a 250. So here's the funny thing about that. Bully. It's like bully. See that? It's like a play on words. Bully. He's trolling us a little bit, but that's okay. I'll answer the question. A guy who's too macho for a heavy little 250. The funny thing about bikes that are like 250s and stuff, even if the scale says they weigh that, they are, the weight of a DR 650 or close to it and stuff. You don't feel it when you're riding. You feel it when you pick it up off the ground for sure. But it's not like it's this big heavy bike. And sometimes that weight really helps a novice rider, who these bikes tend to be designed for, because that weight adds a form of stability. It makes it planted to the ground. The bike isn't twitchy. It doesn't react too quick. It makes the steering a little bit slower. All these characteristics I'm talking about are good for more novice riders. So in that essence, it's not that bad. And a lot of riders it doesn't matter whether they're on a 250 or they're on a 650, they're only going to use about 3/4 of the throttle ever. They're never going to use, the full pull of the throttle. We see this all the time. And when you're riding down the road, just doing normal riding, a 250, like a CRF 250L, will keep up with the guy on the DR 650 most of the time. You don't see people getting gapped because they're on a smaller bike or not being able to go where they want to go. And that power, they want that power level. That's why they make those bikes. That's why they're there. And if it's not for you, then quit bagging on it. Bob, Bob, you were called a big brain in the chat room. So next question, Bob, what do you have?
This guy's a poor judge of character. The crank wheels are smaller, and that's what makes it easier.
Right. Yeah. The rotating mass. Right. With power, I always say this: power adds weight. When you add power, it adds weight. And we talked about this on a future or a past Tech Talk. And so if all of a sudden you're saying, well, this podcast is going below my, I need more advanced knowledge and better stuff. Hey, listen to some of these sometimes. We talked about how the reason power makes a bike feel heavier, how it picks the bike up and puts all the weight onto the rear wheel, and there's a heavier crank spinning around, and we got into it pretty deep at one point. So, you can figure out.
I think that's around like episode 40.
See that's good information, Logan. That's where co-host just came into play.
Yeah, it's somewhere around
Solid. Yeah. Okay. We got any questions so now we have an argument in the chat room. Tom Reyes says kilowatts is 0.7, and Martin Hachworth, who we were going to call here in a minute and talk about Tour of Idaho. We should probably call him real quick. He says it's 0.75 kilowatts. And if you're reducing my power by 0.7 and 0.75, I only want you to cut me by 0.75. Yeah. Do the math. Let's see. I answered the guy about this Tenere 700 seat comfort. I told him that the tall seat had plenty of comfort. The stock seat was it was average. But then again, we don't ride sitting down. Why don't you read that one? I'm going to get Martin on the horn here.
Fred Boris, great review. As always, you can trust what Jimmy says. Heather is a great rider in her own right and worth listening to.
That guy's a smart guy.
Yes.
Yeah. So, going to bring in Martin.
Hey,
Martin, how you doing? You're live on Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. Fred Burris is a smart guy. Do you think so?
Who's that now?
Oh, Fred, he said he can always trust what I say.
He is a smart guy.
0.75% of the time, evidently. I'm like
that's close. It's not exact, but that's pretty close.
Yeah, I'm like the kilowatts of motorcycle information. Yeah. So how you doing, Martin? I know you're having a rough go with the old body. It's trying to show you how old you are.
It's been an interesting few months, but it'll pass. Literally, in my case.
Well, that's good. I'm sure the guys on the Tour of Idaho, and for those of you who don't know, Martin Hachworth is the creator of Tour of Idaho. He also runs a website called motojazz.com. Motorcyclejazz.com. You got to you shorten it all the time when you just call it Mojazz. So motorcyclejazz.com and basically the instigator, the overlord of the Tour of Idaho, which I've had the pleasure of doing. I think it's been 5 years now.
It has. It was 5 years ago. I've been posting some photos on the old Facebooks. It tells you when you have these anniversaries, it keeps coming up with you and Jimmy Lewis share an anniversary 5 years ago, and it's your Tour of Idaho.
Well, hey, thanks a lot. Happy anniversary, Martin. I'm glad we could we could share that together. But I was the early guy on when I did the tour. I was one of the first guys to go through. There definitely been some people before me. And if you don't know what the Tour of Idaho is, it's basically a dual sport. And I say that lightly because you pretty much want to be riding as much of a dirt bike as you can. Largely single track and two track, very little pavement from Utah to Canada. And how many miles is it this year?
A little over 2,000 this year.
Wow. Yeah, so it's a pretty substantial little haul, and it takes for a smart person. How many days does it take?
10 days.
10. So Jimmy's dumb, and Jimmy tried to knock a day off of it when he did it. And there's a video on the YouTube that's now been watched like 30,000 times or something crazy. So if you want to explore,
your listeners need to know something about the Jimmy Tour of Idaho right off before we go anywhere else. So this is classic Jimmy. He did do it early in 2015. He was the first person through, and yeah, there's tire tracks through there, but that's probably not people actually doing a tour. Because it used to be, I used to go out and saw it first every year. I'd ride as much of it as I could with a saw it to make sure that people that were trying to do it for a jersey number could get through. So the earliest we ever recommend anybody doing it is July 15th, and we've now pushed that back to the last week of July. I think Jimmy calls me in like July 15th, and it's classic Jimmy. So I'm sitting in my house. I've got all my saws apart in my shop, and I'm getting ready to literally put them on my bike to take off and do this. And the phone rings, and it's Jimmy, and it's like, hey, Martin, I'm 3 hours away. I'm going to do the Tour of Idaho. You're going with me. And the pitch to sell me on this is, oh, yeah, we're making a movie, and the cinematographer is from the same hollow you're from in Kentucky, so you guys should get along great.
Well, you took a few little liberties on that. I think I told you at least 4 days in advance. I did. I asked permission. Hey, Erica, go outside with that there so it doesn't do the feedback. Yeah. Logan's smart. He puts it on closed captions, by the way. Yeah, there's a way you can do that, and I guess it's pretty good. We got feedback because they can't, in my incredible, awesome studio full of technical difficulties, Martin, they can't hear you. Only Logan and I can hear you with our headphones. So that's what we're going through here because somebody turned it on the speaker. and it was a few minutes delay, but I asked for permission to film to say I wanted to go know if it was cool because I didn't know on the down low you wanted to keep the Tour of Idaho, and then I kind of just went and did it Jimmy style, which was just run it.
It was awesome, and it made the tour because it took it from something that truly was underground and something that truthfully was getting to be such a hassle to administer that I was thinking about walking away. After you did it, it really changed the whole vibe around the thing. We got a much better caliber of rider that started showing up. People were much better prepared because they watched your movie. And, you know, the fact of the matter is I do 2 or 3 things well, and riding a motorcycle isn't one of them. So nobody cares what Martin Hachworth has to say about a motorcycle ride, but everybody cares about what Jimmy Lewis has to say about a motorcycle ride. And we just got a much better caliber of riders showing up. In the years since you came, your buddies, the movie stars, did it. That helped.
Yep.
We had first female finisher last year, Carrie Barton. That helped. So every year we've gotten a better caliber participant. And this year's the first year I haven't felt like slitting my wrists by this time. It's really worked pretty well.
It's like anything. It takes a little bit of time for kind of education to set and play. When I started investigating, and you know this, I had been watching it for a few years, just saying I'm going to do that. It was just on a bucket list thing, and just the planets aligned, and I had the time where I was able to go, take the time to do it. But I looked at the trails, and I'd ridden, I would say, a fair majority of them individually, different times and different things. But there was these very, very remote sections that really intrigued me, and that's what made me want to do a Tour of Idaho, because you can't go there unless you're going from point A to point B. And some of these areas skirt wilderness areas with no gas stations. Mm-hmm. There's no way to, I mean, they're seldomly used trails. Now they're getting, the good thing about the tour, though, what you've done is you now people are using these trails on a regular basis. They're maintaining them, keeping them clear, and they're getting just used enough to where they still have that pristine character. But unless you have somebody running gas, or you're planning to go from here all the way up to there, and it's not convenient to run gas, nobody rides these trails. And that's what really intrigued me about kind of stitching that whole thing together.
Well, as you know, I mean, a passion that you and I share that got me into a hell of a lot of trouble is, defending our right to use these trails, defending our rights on public lands. And we lose trails every year due to neglect. They're on the maps, but people don't ride them. And the next thing you know, they're gone. They don't show up in the next travel plan. The Tour of Idaho has, we make extensive use of trails that just a few years ago existed on maps, but nobody had ever ridden them, or they haven't been ridden in years. There's no tread, there's no blazes, there's no nothing. So we specialize in going in deep into Idaho, finding trails like that, cutting them out, and I get too much of the credit for this. There's people everywhere that are involved in this. And we cut those things out. We sign them. We make sure that the trail tread's good trail tread that's not going to wash away in the first storm. And by golly, this year, a lot of day one is trail that didn't exist just a few years ago. And a lot of day 6 is trail that didn't exist a few years ago. So, and in one case,
I want to come back. I want to come back and do that. Like I'm literally the whole reason my motorhome is parked at Martin's house. If you want to know, is and he's threatening to let his kids, who are what, 3 and 5?
One of them's 2.5, one of them's 4, and the 4-year-old got 3 laps around the driveway today before he clipped a tree.
Oh, I was going to say I know they're practicing driving my motorhome around the yard, but the whole thing I've been delaying is because I want to come there. I want to ride that new day one. I want to spend a day and go do some of that new stuff. Because when we were riding our adventure bikes out of there, when I left my motorhome there, the whole time I was rubbernecking those mountains, going, oh yeah, I want to ride up there. I want to check that out because I haven't ridden there, and that's what makes the tour kind of a neat thing.
The stuff you were looking at on Elkhorn was literally going to be a roadless area, a local environmental group, little storefront operation that makes all their money by suing the government and then recouping legal fees, has this dream of creating a wilderness corridor that runs all the way from Canada to the Mexican border. And they're trying to implement their idea by suing federal agencies piecemeal to get these small areas declared roadless. That whole Elkhorn area was the subject of a lawsuit. They wanted to make a roadless area. Well, wait, there's trails on the map there. You can't make this roadless. And the environmental group went in, took pictures, and rightfully claimed, well, nobody uses these trails. Within a year, they were on the Tour of Idaho. So that's how we fix stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's being proactive, and it's awesome. And that's what I tell people about land use. You need to be aware nationally. You need to be, it's hard to find a good group that will tell you what's going on nationally, but individually we need to find an area locally that we can be involved in, and in a state group, so you can do your part to kind of fight for this stuff, or at least support those guys that are doing it. So, hey, how's my buddy Brian doing up there cutting trails?
As far as I know, he's doing pretty good. Haven't talked to him for a while.
Yeah.
But he's doing all right. But 2 buddies of yours, Hans and Wayne, made a deep run at the Tour of Idaho this year. Hans had to retire, I think, on day 5. But Wayne, it looks like he's going to finish. I haven't verified his tracks yet.
Oh.
But he finished as a soloist, spent 2 nights out, I think. It was quite the adventure.
Yeah, see, that was the main reason for my calls, because I haven't had a chance to track them, and I didn't even know what name you gave their team. What did you call their team?
Steel Horses.
Steel Horses, okay. Because we had Wayne on the show a while back. See if Logan did his show prep, and I would have told him that we were going to talk about this. He would know what show. Remember we had the guy from the Tour of Idaho here, or you might not have been here that night.
I wasn't there, but
yeah. You guess what show it is? Like,
if I had to guess, I'd go
43-ish, 52.
Probably not that high, but
we had Wayne on the show because he was. It was in the early spring, and he was asking a lot of questions about, hey, Jimmy, what would you do this? So we actually did a whole episode with him, talking about prep and stuff. And do you know why Hans had to retire?
His knees.
Oh, geez. Yeah, it's not for kids.
A friend of mine just called me a little while ago, a guy that I think the world of. He's a good dude. His name's Chad Hunter, and I don't know whether he's listening or not, but he had to retire today because of his wrists. And the reason I have kidney stones right now and I'm getting a hip replaced in about 2 weeks is the Tour of Idaho. Had a lot to do with all that. It beats you to death. And, a lot of young people get to the end. I talk to these guys like, our mutual friends, the movie stars. It'd be hard to find 3 stronger guys than Tony, Jesse, and Steven. And they got to the end, and they looked like they had been castaways, with a soccer ball on an island. Yeah. So it really beats you to death. And the one advantage that guys like you and I have that are a little bit older is especially you. I mean, your expertise is how to be efficient. And my expertise is a lot more in just general woodsmanship, generally being in the outdoors. If you try to solve everything with your right hand, you're going to get killed. But if you are efficient, if your navigation's good and you're pretty good in the outdoors, you know, you're sort of a well-rounded outdoors person, and you don't go too fast, you slow down, you exercise some throttle discipline, you can get through it, but it still extracts a horrible price. The last time I did it, I peed blood for the last 2 days, and I could not feel the pinky and ring finger in either of my hands for a month, and that's very common.
That's what 12 hours. That's what 12 hours on a dirt bike for 10 days will do to most normal people, especially when you. I watch the forums that you guys kind of do. I kind of on the side, you know, check some of that stuff out, and like, you know, these guys talk about doing training, and I'm like, well, when was the last time you rode 5 days in a row for 12 hours a day? You're talking about all this training. I'm on my cycling and I'm riding this. And I know Hans was out here riding a whole bunch, but I'm like, you're not putting in the kind of hours you're going to put in on the tour. And if you do, it's not 3 or 4 days. You're going to start finding out where you really are on day 4, day 5, day 6, you know, where your body's out. And it's the little crash on day 3 that rears its ugly head on day 5. And it's the same thing with rally racing and stuff that I had done that it's hard. It's really hard to train for. And that's when I just kind of giggle when people go, what's the best way to train? And everybody's so worried about their bike. And it's like, the bike's the least of your concerns. I mean, just set it up. Like, my bike was a perfect example. It was my bike that I've been riding forever, with the same gear I had on it forever, with the same navigation I had on it forever, with the tires I knew. And we got a question for that we're gonna ask you, because I don't want to answer all the questions here, but it just makes it's just what you've practiced, and it just makes it common. But you're never gonna really find out what your body's gonna teach you until 6 or 7 days in.
And something that can't be emphasized enough, and this is a pitch for what you do, is just being efficient in the way you go about things. Even little things like the way you get on and off your bike is important when you're getting off 35 times a day to open and close a fence. And the one thing that I've learned from you...
Day two.
Yeah. The one thing I learned from you, you know, and taking your course a couple of times, is it really helped me learn to be more efficient on the bike. And then something I learned from you that you never taught me, I just learned from watching you, is that, you know, you don't try to solve everything with throttle. And these guys that get out on the tour that think that they can make up for their lack of navigation just by going faster from point A to point B don't understand that every time you bounce off a rock at 35, it requires a lot more energy than if you bounced off it at 15. And over the course of days, that pounding will eventually take a toll in your body that probably you won't be able to overcome if you don't break your bike. There's plenty of guys that are strong enough to ride the tour at a race pace, but I don't know if a motorcycle.
Come on, Martin. When in doubt, gas it out. I see that on all the guys. You know, just gas it. Yeah.
I hear adventure rider. That's the best advice, so it's got to be true.
Yeah. Just get over the back and gas it. That works so well when you're on one of those like little skinny trails. It's like a wheel and a half width wide on the side of a scree hill.
With an 800-foot drop.
Well, it's not. You don't have to worry about that because you're not going to fall off. It's when you come around the switchback right before. You just need to get your speed up so you can just sail right. You know, I always say just float right across that, but you know how it works. It's no problem.
No problem.
Logan, what's our Danny Turner has a question. I gave him a feedback on the show last week a little bit about anticipating front to rear balance, but he wanted to clear. Oh no. Is he the one? No, where's the one about the Tour of Idaho? I thought that was it. Oh, no. We got Todd Kelly has the Tour of Idaho question. The last one there.
Okay. Hey, Jimmy.
Hey, Martin.
Taco Mike recently just did a podcast about the guys from the...
It's RI Idaho group. You're familiar with them, Martin?
Yeah.
Okay.
To go out to Idaho and do some riding this season yet. I have the 300 TPI that would be ideal, but I want to do some moto camping off the bike. Instead, I am going to ride my trusty 09 WR450F. I'm concerned about jetting as I'm usually between sea level up to 4,500K.
At the highest.
Yeah.
So remember when we were talking about they're worried about their bike. So he's lobbed 300 TPI, and then he said, well, that's not the bike. So he threw in his WR450F, and now he's going to go into a jetting question. He says the bike is jetted perfectly currently with the RD Powerbowl adjustable leak jet and a fuel screw, the aftermarket FMF exhaust, and all the free mods. Not specifically what jets, but can you point me in the right direction as far as a smaller main jet, different needle position, etc., that I should do to compensate for the higher elevations? Or should I just not mess with the jets and just adjust the leak and fuel screws?
This is a question for me.
Oh, I thought it was a question. Yeah, no, these are the kind of questions we get. And so here's where he goes. He goes, secondly, Martin, concerning the Tour of Idaho, would you just advise against running a tubeless? I plan on bringing all the tools necessary to address a flat or compensate a tubeless failure. Also, what kind of pulley system were you carrying, and did you ever need it on the route? So here's this is the gist of the question. So I'm just saying, instead of answering those specifically, I just want you, as the guy who has to do these all the time, to take a step back. And what are you seeing?
Well, first of all, the answer to every single question this gentleman just asked is written down on our website. It's been discussed ad infinitum, ad nauseum. Maybe not the jetting question and stuff like that, but like bikes, tires. People have those questions all the time, and it's all written down on motorcyclejazz.com. All you got to do is go to the Tour of Idaho pages, and it's answered there. Did
Right.
you tell me this guy came from like the Ride Idaho group?
Yeah, that's where he was.
That bunch of broke-ass knuckleheads are supposed to be the biggest geniuses on the planet. Why the hell are you asking me? Ask those refugees. Those guys are the guys that copied the Tour of Idaho because they kind of didn't like the rules. So ask those guys.
Yeah.
But
are they the ones that said that you could take an adventure bike on it because it's not that hard?
Yeah, that's kind of the general gist.
Yeah.
There are some people in that group that are nice that don't understand the background and stuff. But basically, the serious answer to the question is all that stuff is written down. But I'm going to echo what Jimmy said. It doesn't matter what kind of bike you bring here, as long as it's a reasonably light enduro. As Jimmy said, much more focused towards a dirt bike. If I were doing the tour right now, and this is all written down, and it's well known that I say this, if I were doing it with the bikes I have in my shop right now, I'd do it on my 300, and it's not even the TPI. Mine's just a 300 carbureted bike.
Right.
I do it on that.
In doing that, so you're gonna suffer the disadvantages of fuel range. And I don't know. I know the year I did it, I needed every ounce of my 5.5 gallon Acerbis tank and the 2 1 gallon gas cans that I carried in on that one long section up in the what was the name of it? Going through the
you're going across the Magura Road.
The Magruder Road, yeah. I needed every ounce of gas that I had.
The next bike that I'll buy for the tour, however, will be a 350, a KTM 350.
Right.
And a bike like that, I know you like the 500.
Yeah, I was going to say, the KTM 500 is a better bike.
According to Jimmy Lewis, which means it's the last word, that's true.
No, it isn't.
But when you're a 64-year-old guy like me who's now bionic, you want the lightest thing you can. The 350 is a little lighter. And the fact that, it's a little down on power doesn't bother me. I'm one of these kind of guys. I'm the guy that in road racing went from the leader bikes all the way down until I got to the 500 Mod Prod, which is where I found my size.
Yeah.
So basically, every modern motorcycle makes enough power for me. It's the character, the power delivery.
But Martin,
that's why I ride the 300.
The KTM 350,
it's not like an on and off.
But Martin, the KTM 350 is only a few pounds lighter than the 500.
I know, but dude, A few pounds is a lot, man. I'm getting a big belly in my convalescence here, and I feel that extra 5 pounds.
Yeah, no, it's the way the bike reacts. It feels like 40 pounds lighter when you're riding it. And the good thing about the KTM 350 or the Husky 350 specifically is in the past few years, they've really concentrated into bringing the torque up, the kind of torque that you're going to use when you're going around a switchback and you're riding nice and slow and in balance along those scree hills, the technical stuff. And the fact that you have to buzz it a little bit more when you're going down the road's big deal. It doesn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, but no,
it's light and it's durable, and until somebody comes along with something different, that'll be my next tour bike. I think I'm going to start building one next year.
Just get a big ass tank. carry all the gas on the bike.
Well, I'll talk to our buddy Brian Fullerton up in Ketchikan. He'll hook us up.
Yeah, that's the one thing that Chirby's has stopped making is the really, really big tank. They've kind of been all sub 5 gallons, around 4.5, and I really miss that extra gallon that I used to be able to stuff in there. So
as long as it's over 4, it'll work. Yeah, I remember doing the tour one year, and I had a 7-gallon tank on the bike, and it was just too awful to even consider. I wanted to rip the thing off at the end of every day.
Yeah, and that was on the Sierra 450X, right?
Yeah, all that fuel is just too much sloshing around that tank, and the way the bike handles from the beginning to the end of that, it's just incredible. And you notice it even at trail speeds, and the tank was so big, there were places I couldn't fit it between the trees. It was incredible.
Yeah, that tank was a bit of a monster. That was maybe a little bit overboard. That was more of a desert rally style tank, not for being able to squeeze the bike through a single track. But hey, well, I want to thank you for coming on and just chatting about that, because I remember all the good times on the tour, and the cool thing is that year Martin did come out, and like on one day specifically, he got ahead of me on the tour and cut some logs, and there was another group of some of your buddies that pay attention to what was going on. They went out and cut some logs because I saw fresh sawdust, and I was and seeing the number of logs that they cut, as well as some of the ones that I cut when I was going through. It would have been a really long day had I not had the help, and that made it a lot better.
There are hundreds of people that are involved in this thing every year, and that's the coolest thing about being a part of this, whether you're a participant or a merchant along the way, or whether you're me just sitting here kind of watching all the pieces work. And you've run enough big events to know that despite the hassles, there's a certain satisfaction of just kind of understanding that it is possible for human beings to work together just to do something that's cool. And that's kind of what everybody involved in this project does. So every year there's people that go out on mountain bikes and horseback and saw trees for us. And then they stand on the side of the road when the tour guys go by. They're all tracking them. They hold up signs. Hey, Team Calaho, good for you.
That's cool. Yeah, I don't think it was that popular when I was doing it, but it was still, like I said, it was still kind of a lot of fun. But, Martin and I's advice, do it on a more dirt bike-esque dual sport bike. Don't think you can do it on a dual sport bike or a adventure bike. Pay attention to all the stuff and the effort he puts into all the stuff on motorcyclejazz.com that tells you how to do it. Understand how to read maps and navigate. That's pretty important. And know your size. know your size about your ability level and your equipment level. Yeah?
Yeah. We're going to pick this up on PBR Monday when you get up here, right?
I'm gonna. If it has to be a Wednesday or Thursday, we'll see what happens. You never know, Martin. I might hop on the damn motorcycle tonight and ride up there.
Well, we can tape it. It'll still be a PRB Monday. We can tape it. And, doesn't necessarily have to be live, but we'll do a PBR Monday, and we'll talk all about it a little bit more. One final thing to answer the guy's question. He said something specifically about tubeless.
Yep.
I would leave the tubeless back in Poughkeepsie if I were him. The bib mooses are starting to get to the point where I think I trust them, but I'm an old school guy, and ultra heavy duty tubes with a little bit of slime in them have served me very well for many years. I've done the tour 6 times and failed probably a dozen more, and I've never had a flat.
Yeah, and I did it with Kenda medium tubes, not the super heavies, but the medium tubes with baby powder in the tires, and that was it. Nothing Nothing fancy or
Yeah.
special. But I tell you what, if I were to go do it tomorrow, I would do it with the same tires. I would do it with the Kenda Parker DTs, which are the ones that I used and I like, and I would run the Nitro Mooses. I have 100% confidence. I have 100% confidence in the way that those things work, and I would have to, for me personally, I'd have to do a little bit more testing on like a Michelin Moose just to see if it would go that distance and or different tires. But that's the setup that I used, and I mean everybody's got their own particular thing, and if you know that it works, then run it, and if you don't know if it works, then test it more.
Yeah, there you go.
So, hey, thanks a lot for coming on tonight, Martin, and I will keep in touch. Just
Take care, brother.
Yeah, keep the kids out of the motorhome.
That's too late for that. Take care, man.
Right, see you. So, everybody, that was Martin Hachworth, the godfather of the Tour of Idaho and motorcyclejazz.com. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, like I said, I had a question on the Tour of Idaho, and it was very typical. A lot of the questions I get where it just goes all over the place. So to Todd Kelly specifically, be careful where you're getting your information on the internet. As you can tell, you're getting your information from me, which I feel is a trusted source. But do your research, and when Martin said he would do it on a 300. I would be hesitant to do the tour on a 300. I would be hesitant to do it on a 2-stroke in general. Not that it couldn't be done. It's just there's better bikes for the job. And then all of a sudden you jump into an older, God, that bike's 10 years old now, and it's carbureted, and how much do you trust it? I know if you were San Felipe Bob, you would just take and go ride it right now because it's a Yamaha, but I would be wanting something newer and fuel injected and with a bigger tank. So as far as the jetting goes and stuff like that, it's hard to speak to that because once you start modifying things, everything's a system. So you got this whole bike thing going on, and then now we're going to go over into the Tour of Idaho. I did not carry a pulley system or a rope system. I had a tow rope with me that I could use in case I needed it. But Martin highly recommends a pulley system because he also expects I think he sets his level of where the rider ability is, that you're going to ride off a cliff at one point or another during a tour. I rode off one a little bit, but I was able to, heave-ho my bike back up, and I didn't expect to ride off a cliff at all. So that's my insight on that. If you do that, just pay real close attention. Follow all the stuff that guys have posted. Watch some videos. Talk to somebody who's done it before. Somebody who's completed it, and also talk to somebody who's failed, or a few people that have failed, and ask them why. And I'll bet you they were the same ones that were over here asking me about how to jet their bike, how to set up their bike, how to do all this stuff. And I said, man, you need to take some riding lessons. Okay, where are we at on this one? On this question, you lost your place?
Yeah.
I think we were Paul Kitchen. Oh yeah. read that to where it goes to italics.
Paul Kitchen. Nice review. I am so sick of canned reviews by motor journalists. Even Heather's not knowing all the terminology, just explained what she felt or noticed was refreshing. Keep it up. So
what I got out of that was keep my wife in the kitchen and cooking me canned foods. Right? I don't pay much attention to this. Thanks, Paul. I actually sent him that back as kind of a joke because, sometimes I only hear about half the question. A lot of times I've read them before, and then I kind of hear you reading, and I'm like getting thirsty and or trying to coordinate something over on this side of the show. But I'm just another canned journalist. Come on, just read the internets. So we were right. That's where we were on the next one. What's our? He's talking about Dallas from our show last time.
Charlie Tuna, 1971. If Dallas were in a true squat, weighted on heels, he would have felt soreness in his glutes. Soreness in his quads indicates he might have weighted more on the balls of his feet. IMO, cycling.
In my opinion.
Cycling may not work to decrease muscle memory to put him on the balls of his feet because cycling cleats clip in near the front of the foot. Of course, cycling is still great for cardio prep.
You think Charlie Tuna is a physiologist? Physio? Maybe? I don't know. He knows about the muscles. Heather knows about the muscles. Maybe she should do a podcast on that. Also, he says, I'm looking at a KTM EXC 500 tomorrow because of you. Yes. Yeah, best bike ever known to man. Not because KTM sponsors this show. Next question.
Thorn is my name. Thoron. Seeing as your...
That's Tyrone, man.
Tyrone?
Tyrone Isaminari Thorn. I can't. Let's say his last name is
my name.
Thorn is my name. Tyrone is my name. Yeah.
Seeing as you're looking for people who bought a bike off your reviews, after hearing about the EXCF on the Tour of Idaho video, I ended up buying one spring of 2020. Also, tonight is my first time putting a moose in, also off your advice.
Well, he's drank the Kool-Aid, hasn't he? Tyrone, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, that just, helps keep me plugging along here. Oh, this is a good one.
Jeff Davies. Jimmy, I'm a builder, and I'm thinking of chopping my 1090 and ditching the stock tank and going with KTM 450 rally tank for the rear and the split tanks up front. I'm hoping for a better center of gravity, access to the air filter without fuss, and better movement on the saddle. Or do you recommend just a good damper setup first and then evaluate? Honestly, I'm just not confident enough in the loose stuff as it is.
Okay, what's the problem? What do you think his problem is? Besides wanting to cut his perfectly good motorcycle apart because he's a builder. Do you think he wears like skinny jeans? And like he has a beard? And like he's in one of those videos where he's like using two grinders at the same time? Does that mean he's a builder? I don't know. I saw those before. So this is a problem. This is a question that just goes down a strange path. Like he's ready to chop his 1090 and do all this crazy stuff, and it all comes back to I'm just not confident in the loose stuff as it is. In the middle, he lobs in, will a steering damper fix this? I'm just breaking it down. I'm pulling it back and just kind of going what I'm seeing here. So, Jeff, I would suggest before you cut that nice motorcycle in half or do whatever you're going to do to it, chopping, I would learn to ride with my hands off the handlebars because it could either A, eliminate you from ever having to ride again, or B, show you that you're horribly out of balance and it's really not the bike's problem. Because if you do that, what I was just saying, and don't really do this, but if you're riding along, you're going about 30 or 40 miles an hour, stand up in the foot pegs, put your hands up in the air, straight up in the air, like high up in the air, and just jump off the motorcycle. That motorcycle will continue to go straight and just keep going for a long time before it tips over. But if you stand up on the motorcycle and put your hands up in the air, like I'm saying, and you try to stay on it, that motorcycle will try to crash quicker than you know what to do with it, which means who's the problem? And so you start talking about stability and moving weight around on the bike and all this other stuff. You've got, well, if you're Logan size, maybe 130 pounds, 120,
110,
110 pounds. that you could use to influence that. And you can't move 110 pounds around in that motorcycle by doing gas tanks. But I know you're bigger than Logan. But if you're my size, you got 200 pounds. And just by leaning forward and backwards on the foot pegs, side to side on the foot pegs, you can move that weight around. You can transfer that weight around, and you don't need to chop or cut the bike. So will a steering stabilizer help that bike? Absolutely. I haven't met a bike that a steering stabilizer didn't help. But trying to put gas tanks on, unless you just have if you want to do it for sport or hobby because you're a builder, then I would say, go for it. I'd like to see that build. That'd be kind of cool, but I wouldn't start with that bike to begin with. There's probably a lot better bikes to start chopping up. But it's kind of a tricky question. Like if you want to try to modify the bike to fix the problem, that's not really the best path to fix the problem. I think it has to do with the way you're riding the motorcycle. And I'm not just saying that because I run a riding school. www.jimmylewisoffroad.com. We have announced our classes if you got our newsletter. If you're up in the Pacific Northwest, by the way, CispusCycles.com has their class dates announced, and they teach the exact same formula as I do. They will make you a better rider. They will teach you how to ride with your hands up in the air and make your bike more stable, and so you don't have to chop it. Just saying. Did we miss any questions on the form yet? Not really.
There's one. Okay. Mike Mead. Is there a way to run backup fuel pumps on newer KTM Husqvarna?
A backup fuel pump?
Yep.
You're asking this because you've heard of all of the fuel pump failures that are going on. Like 99 out of 100 bikes has a fuel pump failure, I guess, if you read the internets. So I have, let's see, how many fuel injected KTMs do I have with fuel pumps? Probably 20 of them. Not one of them has a backup fuel pump or any sort of backup fuel pump system on it, nor do any of the bikes that I own have anything but stock fuel pumps and fuel pump components, other than some of them have an inline fuel filter between the hose where it comes out of the tank and the injector. That's just the facts right there. So I don't know of any auxiliary add-on fuel pumps that you can run. I don't think you can do it because the fuel pump is also the collection unit and stuff. And I don't know that you can, if you put a pump in the middle of that line, if it would suck fuel past the original pump if something were to go wrong with the pump. And I don't know that the bike, I wouldn't know the power constraints of having a second pump on the bike, and then how would you activate it? Like what would be turning it on and off? So I think you're asking kind of a question that doesn't really need answering that much, other than you got my brain thinking like, okay, what would I do? I rode my bike on the Tour of Idaho, almost 2,000 miles. We talked about Martin about this, and I did not carry a spare fuel pump. I didn't think about it. And if you watch the video, you'll watch when I think that my fuel pump went out and my ECU came unplugged. Oh, I should have gone to the internets and told everybody I had a fuel pump failure. But that's a different story. So I kind of don't understand the question in reality. If it's due to fear because of something you're experiencing, we'll call it YouTube video watching fear, or the guy who's trying to sell you the upgraded fuel pump instilled the fear of needing the upgraded fuel pump fear, you can do one of two things. Completely ignore it and just ride your motorcycle, and you will never have to replace your fuel pump. Maybe your fuel filter if you run bad gas, but never your fuel pump. And I'm still, like I said, I'm still running the stock fuel filters, which I do know, by the way, they've changed the country of origin in. And I've been putting the ones that have been made in Turkey into my bikes lately, and I haven't had any failures yet. But these bikes are, what's a 2012 now? How many years old is it?
8.
And I just did it a year and a half ago, and it's still working. So, I got 8 years out of a fuel pump on a bike that consumes a lot of fuel. So I will report back when I start noticing a failure rate that's different than what is standard. So you can completely ignore it, just run your stock stuff and have a happy day. Or you can go buy all the stuff that the guy is going to sell you and feel confident that that's going to work forever, and hopefully it does. And if it works forever, then great, which maybe it will, and maybe it's better. I've yet to try one of those systems because I haven't needed it, and I have a lot of different bikes. So, and I'm not just saying that because, hey, what is KTM, Logan? It's powered by a
distinct ready-to-race mentality.
It's the world's leading high-performance street and off-road sport motorcycle manufacturer with North American headquarters where?
Based in Marietta, California.
And over the years, what have they done?
Built a reputation as a fierce competitor on the racetracks around the world.
You're totally reading it.
Oh.
You're supposed to do it off of memory. And its remarkable global success is reflected in every product it develops and every move it makes. Do you know KTM won in MotoGP this weekend?
And the week before.
No, yeah. So the week before they got this week they got pole position and winning.
Okay.
Yeah. Then this would be the second motor. So this time they got pole position and winning. So crazy. That's, I mean, to jump into that field. If I was one of the other manufacturers, I mean, you should have seen it coming because you saw them do it with motocross, which everybody said no way. I remember when KTM, like, nobody wanted to ride a KTM on the motocross track, and now look at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're doing pretty good by sponsoring this podcast, I think.
Yeah.
A little bit. It makes it so that one day, Logan, I might be able to give you a small paycheck for getting that podcast uploaded to whatever a French iTunes account that we own. So, okay. What other questions? There's one other one that I saw here. Danny Turner. He said he was the guy that I gave a whole bunch of jetting advice to, even though his bike was fuel injected. I told him how to change jets. Again, me thinking that only hearing half the question. So he said whatever I told him worked wonders. Anyways, he said I can also take the credit for him purchasing a 300, and my influence did give him the final decision to go with an XC. So that's good, as opposed to XC, XCW. We've always talked about that question a lot of time. He's not looking for a response to this question, just trying to give more data. But he says, I do get a chuckle out of it every time you state we steer with our feet these days, and can only imagine what Keith Code going nuts over that statement and Danny Walker telling you are both full of shit. I reckon the different disciplines take different techniques, but there is always crossover. I know the top road race guys ride a lot of dirt. Surprised more top dirt guys don't do more pavement stuff. Well, I'll tell you why they don't do pavement stuff. It's expensive. It's so tire dependent. And yeah, it's fun. I really enjoy kind of hanging out with other guys that do riding coaching, especially guys that have had high level racing careers themselves, because we always talk about how we got to where we were being a lowly motorcycle coach now that almost anybody can do. But we came from this place in racing where we've kind of distilled the stuff down. And just because you're a good racer doesn't mean that you're going to be a good teacher or coach, but you learn some things. And what my racing taught me wasn't about how I rode the motorcycle. It taught me how to work hard and what you learned from doing things wrong when you were racing and how you improve them more than, okay, this is the technique for doing this or that. So, yeah, good times. I've had really good times with Danny Walker because he tells me I don't know what the hell I'm doing all the time. And I have his chart. It's in the office here. It shows you how to go around a flat track, and pretty good chart. It's worth the price of admission to one of his schools. So I've not taken the Keith Code class, but I've had a lot of in-depth discussions with him over the years on stuff. And I don't remember exactly which philosophy Keith was teaching at that moment, but I know there's a lot of different ones. So and Baja Diary says, racing taught me not to race. This is the guy that wants to make a living going trail riding all the time. Which he's doing a pretty good job of it, actually. Any other questions in there, Logan?
Not in here. But
None here. So we've kind of closed down this episode of Tech Talk Taco Tuesday.
Yep.
What was your segment going to be? You were going to ask me a question about something.
Whew.
You can't remember your question? You got to come here prepared. But hey, good with the episodes, remembering which episodes things are in. We need to have a list of the shows of what we talked about. That could be something you could do. That could be homework. You have the list of the shows and it's kind of like the cliff notes and what we talked about. So when I go, oh yeah, you should listen to episode this or that, then we could tell people and then they could go back and find it. Because eventually this will be a proper podcast. And then you can listen to it that way. So, hey, thanks to Climb. They've always been a big supporter. You're wearing a nice Climb shirt. I'm wearing a Pabst Blue Ribbon shirt. They're not supporting me right now. You can always buy a Dirt Bike Test T-shirt. They're in limited supply right now. What else do we need to tell them? I need a
KTM?
I need a DDC sprocket. Oh, we've done our KTM reads. We're done with that obligation.
Okay.
Recluse. What? How do you know if you need a Recluse clutch?
If you can't ride with one hand off the handlebar?
Not close enough. It just makes you a better rider, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they make all kinds of good clutch components. Other than that, I think we're all good. We're going to wrap this show up. Thanks, Logan, for showing up on time.
Yeah.
And we'll see you tomorrow to edit this down so you can get it up on the YouTube so somebody else can tell me it's not a podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, and with that, we will see you out on the trail. So, cheers.